Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Reunion this year. To put it mildly, this is an unusual reunion, the way we had planned it, but we hope that you are enjoying it and have enjoyed it the same. I'm Trevor Morrison. For those of you I haven't met before, I'm the Dean of the Law School, and I'm really glad to welcome you here, as I've said. I'd like to give you a few updates on the goings-on at the law school here before we move to our alumni awards this afternoon. Even in this COVID time, the school has been moving forward in really exciting ways, including making new appointments to our faculty. And we're really pleased that already made 2 additions to our faculty, colleagues who will be starting on the faculty this summer. One is Vincent Sutherland, who many of you probably already know. He has been serving as the executive director of NYU Law's Center on Race, Inequality, and the Law since 2017. And he's going to join our clinical faculty this summer as a full-time member of the faculty. We've also added this spring to be joining us this summer, Noah Rosenblum. He also is well known to the NYU law community, having served as a Goldie Fellow in legal history at the law school, and is really, I think, bound to become one of the leading legal historians of his generation. He's been spending time, as I say, with us as a fellow, and will be joining us this summer full-time on the faculty. He teaches constitutional law, administrative law, and legal ethics. We're thrilled about that. We've made a number of other full-time offers to faculty that we're hoping will be accepted in the coming weeks and months, and we'll have more to report to you on that. Which is to say that even in these really challenging times, we've been able to move forward, and that is in very large part because of the support of our community, of our alumni in particular. More on that later in my remarks, but just on the faculty front alone, the extent to which we've been able to press ahead has depended hugely on the ongoing support of our alumni community. Also, a lot of really exciting things involving many folks connected to NYU Law in terms of people joining the new Biden administration. A great many people, either faculty members, alumni, others connected to the school, have taken up positions within the administration, or at least have been nominated to them. If I gave you the whole list, that would take up almost our entire hour here, but they include our own Lily Batchelder on our faculty, who has been nominated to the position of Assistant Secretary for Tax Policy in the Treasury Department. As well, David Kamen of our faculty is already serving as Deputy Director of the National Economic Council in the White House. David Hayes, who was the Executive Director of our State Energy and Environmental Impact Center, will serve as Special Assistant to the President for Climate Policy. Vanita Gupta, class of 2001, who I think would have been here celebrating her 20th reunion with her classmates were it not for the fact that she was just earlier this week confirmed as Associate Attorney General. That's the number 3 position within the Justice Department. And the number 2 position in the Justice Department is now occupied by Lisa Monaco, who was also confirmed just earlier this week. And Lisa had been really an important part of our law school community for the last several years, having taught many of our students as an adjunct professor and also serving as a distinguished senior fellow at our Reese Center on Law and Security. And speaking of reunions, Anne Milgram would have been celebrating her 25th reunion. I'm not sure if she's been able to join us this weekend, though, since she has just been nominated to the position of Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration within the Justice Department. These are just some of the examples of NYU people heading into government, rendering wonderful public service. And just as a last item along those lines, I'll mention many of you probably saw that President Biden announced the establishment of a presidential commission on the Supreme Court of the United States. And folks who are going to serve on that 36-member commission include Maggie Lemos of the class of 2001, one of our award winners, whom you'll hear from later. Bob Bauer on our faculty, former White House counsel to President Obama, is a co-chair on that committee. Sherilyn Ifill of the class of 1987, who of course is the president and director counsel of the NAACP of Defense and Education Fund, is also on that committee. Rick Pildes of our own faculty is going to serve on that commission, rather. Michael Waldman, class of 1987, who's also the president of the Brennan Center for Justice, is serving on the Supreme Court Commission. And I am too. So there's a lot of us connected with NYU serving on this commission, which is taking up a really important set of topics, obviously relating to the Supreme Court of the United States and questions of its possible reform. All of which is to say, even in this challenging year of COVID-19, NYU Law continues to do what we've always done, which is to lead, in particular when it comes to important legal and policy issues and public service in the government. And we're really proud of all of these NYU Law folks and the work that they're doing. Now, just to say a little bit more about this year and COVID-19, to say this has been a challenging year would be to put it mildly. As I'm sure all of you have found, this year has been full of difficult personal and family challenges for us all. And of course, the concern of the pandemic itself has presented a massive public health challenge, and all of those challenges have been present here at the law school as well. After switching into complete remote operations in the middle of last spring, we returned at the beginning of this academic year in a kind of hybrid mode. About 3/4 of our classes have been taught entirely remotely, but 1/4 have been taught in person, or at least in a hybrid way with some kind of rotating cohort, depending on the number of students in the particular class. When we've been teaching in person, as I've been doing both in the fall semester and the spring semester, of course, everyone in the classroom is entirely masked and distanced. And then if it's a large class, some of the students are in the room with the faculty member, and another chunk of the students are accessing the class remotely through Zoom. And then there's usually some kind of rotating cohort from one session to the next. These present big challenges. Virtually none of us on the faculty had any experience in teaching in a kind of hybrid way like that before this last year. But we spent a lot of time last summer making the technological adjustments to our classrooms to make this kind of teaching feasible and successful, and practicing how to do it last summer. And over the course of this year, I think really we've had more success than I would have dared hope last summer. Certainly there have been challenges. Certainly there have been difficulty. Individual members of our faculty have faced huge obstacles in terms of family members falling sick, the disease, and some in our own community as well. But overall, this year really has been, I think, a success story. And that is due in very large part to the immense dedication of our faculty and our administrators and our students as well. And I'm proud that we've come through this year having kept the prevalence of the virus within the NYU Law community really quite low. We've been regularly testing everyone coming on campus. And there hasn't been a big spike in the virus within the NYU Law community. And of course, now that vaccinations are proceeding, we hope that the prevalence of the virus will continue really to retreat over the next coming weeks and months. And as we look to next year, we are planning for a full in-person opening of our teaching operations in the beginning of the fall. NYU as a university has announced an intent to require all students to be vaccinated by the beginning of the school year. And we, on the basis of that, are planning for complete in-person instruction in the fall. Of course, we will make some exceptions for students. For example, if there are international students who have challenges getting visas in time for the beginning of the school year, if they need to access our classes remotely, at least to start the school year for those reasons, then we will make that possible. And our experience of the last year tells us we know how to do that. But otherwise, we're looking forward to a resumption of in-person operations for next school year, and we're very excited about that. We're excited that beyond the teaching mission of the school, we look forward to resuming in-person extracurricular activities as well, whether those are panels or conferences or lectures, in Greenberg Lounge and in Tishman Auditorium. We look forward to seeing you back in those venues. I'm not sure that we will have hundreds and hundreds of people in large-scale events in either of those spaces right at the beginning of September. Things may phase in over the course of the fall, but we are expecting that next year we can be much, much more in person with those kinds of events as well. And that applies to your own reunion. We look forward, hopefully in the fall, to being able to host in-person gatherings of each of your reunion classes. You've had your virtual reunion this weekend. But we look forward to an in-person component of that, hopefully in this calendar year. And if details on that firm up, we certainly will keep you updated about that. Just wanted to note a couple other sort of items about what we're up to at the law school. It was 5 years ago this fall, that we came out with the strategic plan that's been really guiding our work at the school since then. And we announced 3 overarching strategic goals: one around leadership and innovation in legal education, one around diversity and inclusion, and the third we called student success, which is really focusing on what the school could do to best support our students to prepare for success in their careers, however they defined it. And over the course of these 5 years, and in particular over the course of the last year, we've been moving forward on all of those goals as well. Of course, the issue of diversity and inclusion, especially as it applies to questions of race and racial justice in the law, has gained renewed, much deserved, much overdue attention over the course of the last year in the wake of the killing of George Floyd and other episodes of police violence, in particular targeting communities of color. And we're very pleased that we've been able to engage with those issues on a number of fronts. When we announced our strategic plan and the goal of diversity and inclusion, we opened 3 different centers or initiatives at the law school. One, our Center on Race, Inequality, and the Law. That's the center that Vincent Sutherland has been the executive director of up until this summer when he was appointed as a faculty member. The faculty leaders of that have been Tony Thompson and Deborah Archer. And Deborah will continue to be the faculty leader of that center going forward, along with Vincent Sutherland, who will join her as faculty co-director. Tony is retiring at the end of this academic year. So that's another turning point moment for us here at the school. A number of significant members of our faculty, including Tony Thompson, his spouse, Kim Taylor Thompson, Bert Newborn, Bill Nelson, Oscar Chase, Deborah Malamud, all retiring this year at some point. And so as we are excited to be welcoming new members of our faculty, we're also saluting, thanking, and congratulating some long-serving members of our faculty for their dedication to the school. And there will be that kind of turnover then within the Center on Race, Inequality, and the Law. Deborah Archer, the spectacular Deborah Archer, and Vincent Sutherland taking the mantle forward and really doing important work. They've focused among the initiatives in that center. One of the more important ones is focusing on the use of algorithmic decision-making, artificial intelligence, in the policing space in particular, and identifying ways that the use of that kind of technology can not really overcome problems of race and racial bias, but actually can cement and embed them, and how to think about the use of AI-based decision-making tools in ways that can do better on those fronts. It's just one example of the great work of that center. We also, in this period since the launch of our strategic plan, opened the Birnbaum Women's Leadership Network through the tremendous generosity and vision of our graduate and trustee, Sheila Birnbaum, and also the vision of our graduate and trustee, Sarah Moss. And Sarah and Sheila together have helped lead the Birnbaum Women's Leadership Network to be already a really important forum for talking about questions of women's leadership in the profession. This past fall, we launched a law firm initiative through the Birnbaum Women's Leadership Network to engage firms on questions of how to achieve better outcomes in terms of recruitment, retention, and promotion of the women in their firms. And we're really excited about the work of this network going forward. We're really excited about the Women's Leadership Training Program that we've set up within the network. This is the particular effort supported by and really envisioned by Sarah Moss that's had terrific success already. And so you'll be hearing more from the school about that work going forward. And finally, the Center for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, we launched, have its 5-year anniversary in the fall. This is the center led by Kenji Yoshino of our faculty. And this center has already established itself, I think, as maybe the preeminent center for training within the profession on questions of diversity and inclusion, not just the legal profession, but the profession. And so this center has put on executive training programs for leading law firms across the country, but also for members of the Fortune 100. And it's really put NYU Law on the map as a thought leader in this space. At the same time, we continue to work on important questions of diversity and inclusion within our own communities. An important leader in that effort is Lindsay Kendrick. whom we hired as our inaugural Assistant Dean for Diversity and Inclusion. We created that position a few years ago. Lindsay has since also become our Dean of Students, and is just one of the spectacular administrative leaders at the school who has seen us through the challenges of the past year in a way that I think we can really be very proud of. The other thing I wanted to mention is under the rubric of student success, the third of our strategic goals, is the big emphasis we've been placing over the last 5 years on increasing the resources the law school can make available to our students in the form of scholarships and financial aid. I would say this is the top fundraising priority for us here at the law school, because to increase these kinds of resources, it really is a fundraising undertaking. We've had great success thanks to all of you on this front. For the last couple of years, our incoming JD classes, about 57 to 58% of the incoming JD classes have received some form of scholarship assistance or financial aid from the law school. That's dramatically up from just over a third about 8 years ago of our entering class receiving some level of scholarship support. And that's thanks to you. We've gone to our alumni and we've asked that they make commitments to increase the resources we can call upon. And they've done that, both through large endowed accounts that we've created for programmatic scholarships, or expanding the endowment supporting programmatic scholarships like the Ruth Tilden Kern program or the Ann Bryce program or our Furman Scholars program, but also just increasing the funds we have available on an annual basis to provide a need-based financial aid to our students. The long-term fundraising effort here is around trying to secure large commitments of endowed gifts to support our work in this area. The short-term work really comes from the annual fund, looking to the dollars we raise each year that we can spend that year and relying on them to help support expansion of scholarship and financial aid. And the key engine of the annual fund every year is giving around reunion. And so for all of you who've made a pledge as part of your reunion this year, thank you very much. To the extent that those are unrestricted pledges, the place that we want to be allocating those dollars is to increased scholarship and financial aid support for our students. Again, we've been able to do that. We've made good progress over the last 7 or 8 years, but there's more progress that we want to make. And we're really confident that we'll be able to with your help. In fact, over the last year, which has been not just a public health challenge, but a budgetary challenge for really all universities across the country, we are thrilled that we've been able, nevertheless, to increase the aid that we're providing to our students just in the course of the last year. We gave to every one of our students a $1,000 technology support grant last summer, so that if they needed to acquire new sort of equipment to enable them to participate in classes remotely, that we could at least support that effort to some extent. We increased all of our partial scholarships that students were receiving as well by $1,000 in order just to recognize more challenging economic circumstances that many of our students were in as a result of the pandemic. And we also, through the generous support of alumni, were able to build a COVID hardship fund. So students facing particular acute crises, budgetary financial crises relating to or caused by the pandemic, could apply for additional support from this fund. And we're really pleased that we've been able to support so many students through that fund. It's continuing to be available this semester as students face new challenges. Not that we can solve every one of those challenges ourselves, but we do at the law school want to be able to support our students as much as we can. And the extent of that support is a direct result of the support of our alumni community. So thank you very much indeed. There's much more to say about the law school, and I'm tempted to keep you here for the rest of the afternoon and give you more updates, but I won't do that. Instead, let's move to our Alumni Awards program so we can congratulate and hear from a number of our spectacular alumni. As I think you know from past reunions, each year in reunion, we make a number of awards to honor alumni and their outstanding achievements. And we're doing that again this year, even though, of course, we can't do it in person as we ordinarily would. And so I'm going to introduce each category of award and each awardee, and then we will hear from each of them. And so let's begin with our recent graduate award. This award this year goes to Nadia Beckwith-Stanley, the class of 2016, JD class of 2016, and LLM class of 2017 for her significant professional achievements since graduating just those short few years ago. Nadia is another NYU affiliated person, NYU graduate, now rendering important public service in the government. She currently serves as Special Assistant to the President for Budget and Tax, serving on the National Economic Council. Before joining the Biden administration, she served on the Biden-Harris transition team as a policy advisor. And she was previously an associate in the tax group at the Skadden firm. She served earlier as a clerk on tax court and began her career in public policy advocating for low-income kids and families at the Children's Alliance. She lives in Washington, D.C. with her 14-month-old son, Oscar, and her husband, Kelly. We're just thrilled to be able to honor her today. So Nadia, let's hear from you.
Thank you, Dean Morrison. Thank you so much to the NYU community for this generous award and recognition. I will say, to be recognized this early in one's legal career really feels as much like a congratulations, but also a challenge to continue the work and to do as much as I can with my skills and my intellect and to help people. So as Dean Morrison said, I began my career in public policy, advocating for low-income kids and families. And after it began that career in the depths of the Great Recession. And after hearing over and over again, when going to talk to lawmakers at every level, that the programs we were advocating for were great. They really did help people, but we simply didn't have money to continue those programs or to expand those programs. It became clear to me that that was a choice, not a truth. And the way that I was going to be able to be an effective advocate for low-income kids and families was to be an effective advocate for progressive revenue policy. And NYU was a critical part of that journey. It was the only place really for me to become a lawyer because of the depth and the breadth of the tax program and the fact that it had that mix of public service and very real technical tax expertise that I needed. And I met many mentors at NYU, including David Kamen, who is both a mentor and a boss right now. And it's been a really tremendous and remarkable 5 years. I will say, when David called me to join the transition team, my son was 6 months old. It was not the moment that I thought I would be embarking on this part of my career. And the only reason, frankly, that I was able to do what I've been doing for the last year is because my husband is always on Team Nadia, and my family showed up for us when we needed them. We spent a good chunk of the last year, quote unquote, in exile, going back and forth between my in-laws and my parents' house with our brand new baby. And it was a remarkable year. I could not have done it without the support of my family in particular. So thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to my in-laws. Thank you to my parents. Thank you to my husband. And thank you to my son for sleeping through the night. So with that, I will turn it back to Dean Morrison and I appreciate your support, your gratitude, and your recognition.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nadia. Our next award is the Legal Teaching Award, and we are honoring 3 terrific graduates this year. So I will introduce each of them at the start, and then you'll hear from each of them in turn. Our first awardee for the Legal Teaching Award is Maggie Lemos from the class of 2001. I mentioned her earlier as serving on the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court. She is the Robert Seeks Professor of Law and Senior Associate Dean for Faculty and Research at Duke Law School. She teaches and writes in the areas of constitutional law, legal institutions, and procedure. Her scholarship focuses in particular on the institutions of legal interpretation and enforcement and their effects on substantive rights within legal doctrine. She came to Duke in 2011, having served previously on the law faculty at Cardozo Law School. And prior to joining Cardozo, she was a Furman Fellow here at NYU. She also clerked for Judge Lipez on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit and served as a Bristow Fellow in the Office of the Solicitor General in the United States Justice Department, and clerked also for U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. Congratulations, Maggie. Our next legal teaching honoree is Lori Malman, class of 1971, and a member of our own faculty here at NYU Law, where she has been a leading member of the tax faculty in particular. She joined our faculty in 1979, having served previously as an associate at Sullivan and Cromwell, became a full professor in 1986, and since then has been a really important member of our graduate tax program, of the faculty teaching in that program, as well as a pillar of the tax law bar generally. She's a speaker, been a speaker at the NYU Law CLE program at the IRS, focusing on tax accounting, corporate tax, and real estate tax issues. In addition to writing many scholarly articles, she's published the individual tax base, cases, problems, and policies in federal taxation. She's also served as an active member of the ABA and the New York State Bar Association. Congratulations, Lori, and thank you for everything you've done for our faculty over so many years. And our final honoree with the Legal Teaching Award is also a member of our own faculty at NYU, and that's Florencia Marotta-Wurgler of the class of 2001. Florencia is the Boxer Family Professor of Law and is also the faculty director of our NYU Law in Buenos Aires program. Her teaching and scholarship focus on contracts, consumer privacy, consumer law, e-commerce, empirical legal studies, and law and economics. She's participated in FTC hearings and testified before the United States Senate. She's also a co-reporter of the ALI's restatement of the law of consumer contracts, a member of the Scientific Advisory Board of the Max Planck Institute for Research on Collective Goods. She serves, as I say, as the director of our study abroad program in Buenos Aires. She has also this year been serving as the lateral chair on our faculty appointments committee, a tremendously important role within the law school. And we were very grateful to Florencia for the important role she plays on our faculty and at our school as well. So having introduced each of them, I'll now turn it over to them, beginning with Maggie to give a few remarks.
Thanks so much for this, Dean Morrison. It is truly an honor. And I'm grateful to have this chance to say thank you more generally for all the support NYU has given me and so many other students and alums who want to go into legal academia. I, for one, was pretty clueless about that career path coming into law school. I had a vague idea that I wanted to be a law professor, but I didn't really have any idea what that meant or how to go about making it happen. And NYU proved to be the perfect place for me. And I will always be grateful to everyone who helped put me on this track. Not only the terrific faculty, but also my totally brilliant and inspiring classmates, including Florencia. This reunion is a reminder of just how long it has been since I was a student there. And in that time, it's been great to watch the Furman program develop and formalize a lot of the support and programming for students who are interested in academia. I was lucky enough to be one of the first group of Furman Fellows, and I have no doubt that I would not be where I am today without it. So thank you very much for all of this.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to say thank you not only for myself, but on behalf of my NYU family. I say this because there are 6 of us that went to the law school, graduated from the law school, and 3 of us, I think, should be specifically noted, 3 generations of women graduates. My mom graduated from the law school in the 1930s and practiced a little bit. Then there's me, and our oldest daughter graduated with the class of 1996, celebrating their 25th reunion. We have just completed, as Trevor has pointed out, a very difficult year, and we have all worked very hard to make it happen, and apparently it has. And hopefully, thanks to awesome science, we will all be able to get together in the fall. So thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you all in person. Florencia?
Thank you, Lori, and thank you so much, Trevor. I feel very lucky. I felt very lucky every day as a student when I walked the steps of Vanderbilt Hall, and I feel even luckier to have been able to continue doing that as a member of the faculty. It's been many years of going up those steps. I stopped taking the elevator as a form of exercise. So I've been teaching 1L contracts for 15 years now, and every year feels as exciting as it did when I took it as a 1L. I was much more clueless, but I was so inspired by my classmates and the faculty. Maggie and I were in the same section, and she was extremely inspiring. I've had the opportunity to meet wonderful students throughout the years, and to collaborate with many of them and stay in touch. So I'm incredibly grateful to be part of this community that has given so much to me over the years. So thank you. This means a lot. Back to you, Trevor.
Thanks, Maggie, Lori, and Florencia, for those really nice words and for the terrific models that each of you sets for our students wanting to pursue careers like yours in legal education. You are each outstanding role models indeed. And so too is our next honoree, who will receive the Public Service Award. And this award acknowledges a graduate who works in public service. And the award celebrates the positive impact they've had on the law and indeed on our society. And Judge Ray Lohier of the class of 1991 is really the embodiment of what we have in mind with this award. As I'm sure you all know, Judge Lohier sits on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. He was confirmed to that judgeship in 2010, having been nominated by President Obama. He currently chairs the Second Circuit's Criminal Justice Act / Pro Bono Committee and its Budget Committee. He presides over one of the 3 re-entry courts in the Southern District of New York for formerly incarcerated individuals currently on supervised release. He does many other things beyond serving as a judge as well. He's a member of the NYU Law Board of Trustees. He's a member of the ALI's Executive Committee and Council, the advisory board for the Institute of Judicial Administration at NYU Law, and he also teaches at NYU Law as an adjunct professor. He's a former board member and now advisory board member of NYU's Law Alumni of Color Association and a lifetime director of the NYU Law Alumni Association. In addition to graduating from the law school, before that, Ray graduated from Harvard College in 1988. He is an exceptionally capable leader with extraordinary character, firmly committed to equal justice. And his NYU Law class of 1991 classmates and his family have asked me to share that Ray is currently running for the Harvard Board of Overseers. And so we have many Harvard graduates who are also NYU Law graduates. And to all of you, I say, vote for Ray. A vote for Ray will advance Harvard's commitment to educating future citizen leaders and achieving excellence in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, while also maintaining academic excellence at Harvard. And so we wish you well in that, Ray, and we congratulate you on this richly deserved award. Ray?
Thank you, Trevor. And thank you very much for that plug. I could use some more. So I do want to say that this award was not only unexpected, but as I told Trevor in an earlier conversation, entirely undeserved. I think of all of our alumni, our terrific alumni who've toiled or toil still in the trenches as public servants in the public interest, who fight the good fight every day for a more just society, and who in way, way too many cases have far fewer resources and much less recognition than I have, and than they deserve for the work that they do. And so the credit, it seems to me, really goes to them. This award, it seems to me, really goes to them. And so today, I consider myself only a custodian of this public service award. On their behalf, on behalf of all NYU Law alums who have served the public and served the public interest, I want to thank the law school and especially the board of directors of the Law Alumni Association and its president, my friend Katrina James, who I met when she was still in law school. And before I became a trustee, as Trevor mentioned, I was an LAA board member in good standing, I believe, for years. So this is really especially meaningful to me. I'd also like to thank my NYU Law classmates from the class of 1991, the great class of 1991. I know that every class thinks it's great, but this was a truly great class. I've been so privileged and grateful to call many of you my friends, friends who've been a great source of strength, support, inspiration, and pride for me over the last 30 years. And you know who you are. And just even knowing you has been a great honor for me. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't also thank my favorite alum and the best classmate of all, my wife, Donna Lee. I can assure everybody who's watching, and our classmates can all confirm, and any member of the NYU Law community who knows us both will agree with this, that if Donna had met some other classmate in the library 32 years ago this month and married him, he, not I, would be speaking to you and accepting this award today. So with that, I thank you very much again for this recognition. Trevor?
Thank you, Judge, and thanks for all that you do, and thanks, Donna, for all that you do as well. Bravo. And yes, the class of 1991 is a great class. I'll tell you that you are my favorite class, but I have to do that when no one else is listening. Our final award today is our Alumni Achievement Award, which recognizes extraordinary professional achievement, service to the legal profession, reflecting the qualities of intellect and integrity, and it applauds the impact that our alumni have had on society. And Amal Clooney of the LLM class of 2001 is the ideal recipient of this award. Amal is a barrister specializing in international law and human rights. She represents clients before international tribunals, is ranked in the legal directories, Legal 500 and Chambers and Partners as a leading barrister in international law, human rights, and criminal law. She served as a senior advisor to Kofi Annan when he was the UN's envoy to Syria. She's a member of the United Kingdom's team of experts on preventing sexual violence in conflict zones and the United Kingdom Attorney General's panel of experts on public international law. Amal frequently represents victims of mass atrocities, including genocide and sexual violence, as well as political prisoners in cases involving freedom of expression and fair trial rights. She is the co-founder of the Clooney Foundation for Justice, which aims to advance justice through accountability. We are grateful for all that Amal does, and we congratulate her on receiving this award. She recorded acceptance remarks in advance, and we'll play that for you now.
Thank you so much to Dean Morrison and NYU Law School for this tremendous honor. When the Dean called to tell me I'd won this award, I was delighted. Although when he said it would be presented at the 20-year anniversary of my graduation from law school, that did give me pause. So 2 decades ago, I started my life in law in New York. And if I'm grateful for one thing above all about this time, it's that my NYU law professors took a chance on me. I remember sitting outside a professor's office for hours to ask if I could apply for a position offered by the school in the chambers of a judge, now Justice Sotomayor. Usually master's students like I was were not considered eligible for this, but he heard my case and let me try. I remember applying too for a constitutional litigation class, so exciting to me as it was set in the real courtroom of the 2 judges who taught the course. I was told not to take it because I hadn't studied constitutional law yet, a fair point. But it was the only time I could take the course, so they gave me a chance. I worked twice as hard, and my dream of arguing in a courtroom was cemented. When I graduated, my wish was to work at a law firm in New York, but I was told that as a British law graduate, I could only do corporate law and would not be offered a position as a litigator. Still, my professor said, just go for it, and I did. NYU Law School took a chance on me, just as New York itself gives a chance to so many. The law school, like the city, is a place not for those who plan to sit on the sidelines, but for those who will put themselves on the line to try to make a difference. And of course, the wonderful melting pot of people and cultures that existed on campus was also present just outside it. New York University has so many of the qualities of the city in its name, and I'm so grateful for the experience of being a student there. So thank you, Dean Morrison, and thank you, NYU Law, for this great honor, and for taking a chance on a young lawyer who was determined to be a New Yorker.
Thank you, Amal, and congratulations to you and to all of our honorees this afternoon. Thank you again for all your wonderful work, and congratulations on receiving the these awards. And thanks to all of you for joining us for this session and for joining us this entire weekend. We hope that you found the classes as well as the reunion class gatherings enjoyable and interesting. I know that a number of your reunion class gatherings are later this afternoon and evening, and I'll look forward to seeing you at those. And of course, we all look forward, as Lori said, to gathering in person in the fall. We look forward to a resumption of that aspect of NYU law life. But in the meantime, we really are grateful to all of your support that has enabled us to continue to move the NYU law community forward, even during this very challenging year. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you very much indeed. This concludes our program. Thank you again for joining us.